Alrighty, we're ready to put this thing back together. We're just do it in reverse order. Okay. What I do is I start with oil, and I oil my cap spots, you know, where the crank rides in the journal here, and I'll lubricate the buckets all the way down. I've already done it. So just use your oil, squirt it all in there, and then for the caps you can use you know like a lithium grease or something real sticky when you put the cap back down, and make sure everything's lubed up before we lock everything in. It has grease in there. Okay, now here's the hard part. Once we get all the cams put back in, we put the engine back in timing. We're going to put the chain tensioner back in, put everything back together, torque everything down, and after all that's done, we have to go back and individually measure every other clearance again, because there are some times where you put the right number of shim in and the clearance is not what you need, and that's going to be the hard part, because you may have to do this procedure all over again depending on what those new clearances are. It does happen. For example, I'll just say 170 shim. When you measure it, you mic it and you put it in, and then when you remeasure it, it may not be a 170. You might not be the clearance that you need. So that's the hard part of this whole thing. Once we get everything back together, we have to remeasure each individual shim. And if we have to change it, then you have to go through the whole procedure again, pull all the cams back, change it, whatever you need. And that's why some of those oddball shims I was talking about from the factory, like the 172, 188, 182, that's where some of those really precision shims come in and make a more precise measurement. Instead of going off increments of 5, you might just need instead of a 170, you might need a 172. And they make those shims just for that reason, but they're so hard to find. Try to go on increments of 5 if you can. If not, the precision shims of Australia they make those precision shims, with those odd numbers, just for that reason. Instead of being increments of 5, if you need something a little more precise, they sell them like that. Alright, let's get started. We're going to do this in reverse order. So we're going to grab our camshaft for the exhaust, and it'll have the one with 2 lobes. That'll be your exhaust. We're just going to give it a quick wipe down. And if you see on this lobe, that's the cam mark we're looking for. And if you look on this chain right here, let me point the camera a little bit. Okay, if you see right here on the chain, that's the mark we're looking for, right there. Okay, so we're going to do this reverse order. I'm going to put this in here just for right now. I'm going to loosen my string here a minute, just a little bit, put some of the tension off of it. See if I can do this and talk at the same time. Okay, now I want right here where this mark is. You can see the little mark right there. We're going to spin this cam right now. We're going to put that in that spot in reverse order. Keep spinning, spinning, spinning right there. That's where we want it. Okay. As you can feel, as you put that chain on and we've got our spot, I want to lift up on this chain pull out as much slack as you can, and we're just going to set it down in there, just like that. And we want that tension off this back into this chain, because there is a chain guide right there. So when you put the gear in that spot and line that line up, we're going to lift it up at the same time as you're dropping it in. It'll take that slack out. We don't want any slack in the back side of that chain. Okay? As you can see, we're lined back up. Okay? Now this particular tool list, we're going to need our regular 10mm ratchet. But this particular one, we're going to have to use a box-in wrench up here. Now, some cams are 21mm, some are 22. So I'm going to grab both. There's only one spot on here to do this. It'll always be on this right side. So we're going to try our 21, and that is a 22 millimeter. So you're going to need to find a 22 millimeter wrench, box wrench. Okay? It's either going to be 21 or 22. Alright, now at this point we're going to start putting our caps on. And remember, the caps are facing to the back, and it's going to be the opposite. 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright. Okay, I'm going to start grabbing my caps. We're going to put this down in there. And before we do that, we're just going to run some oil across our little journals here. Just go all the way across. Okay, both sides. Just a little bit of top oil on those cam lobes. Okay, now we're going to start putting our caps on. And the same thing as we're looking at the back of the bike, this is going to be exhaust 4, 3, 2, 1, as we're looking at the back of the bike this way. So that I'm going to stand in front of the bike and I'm going to look toward the rear, and that number 4 is going to set right down on there. Okay? Okay, we're going to do a quick inventory, make sure our dowel pins are in there. Okay, we do have 2. We're just going to set them right in. Okay, and the camera didn't show it, but right inside here I used lithium grease inside this cap. Just put a little coating inside the top of the cap, because if you try to use anything like oil or anything lightweight, it'll just run down. So lithium grease, real sticky, and it'll set on there. Okay, so just finish all the caps that way. Okay. Make sure our 2 dowel pins are in. We're just going to stick them right back down on there. Okay. Alright, we have all our caps in, so now we're just going to start hand tight, finger down, just where they stop. Okay. Main thing here is just make sure your dowel pins are in. You don't want to leave one of them out. Okay, every bolt is finger tight. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to do a few turns here on the number 3, and then a few turns on number 2, and we're just going to keep expanding this out, and the cam will sit right down in there. So just a couple of turns, maybe 1 or 2 turns at a time. Okay, go to the other side. keep tightening. And tight. We'll torque them all down here in a minute. Just make sure they're all snug. Just barely holding down. Just barely. Okay. We'll get them in a minute all at the same time. You can even kind of look down on the caps to make sure they're seated good. Nothing's you know, raised up on one side and then high on low on the other. So look like they're all seated pretty good. Okay. And right now we're just going to kind of line that cap line up here to the dot so we can use our wrench right here. Sorry, 21 millimeter. Kind of turn it just a little. Now it's hard for me to see the dots, so I have to use a flashlight. You can just kind of look down in there, and it needs to be turned toward me just a little bit. Right there. Okay. That hash line, I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but if you look around the end of that cam lobe, or cam cap, there's a little hash mark, and then you can see the dot from there and just line it up. And then right now I'm going to go check my timing over there on the left timing cover. Off just a little. Just put it back in line. Okay. Okay. All right. Now we're ready for our intake. Okay, make sure our line's up still on the exhaust, that line, straight up and down, so that's good. Okay. Now we're going to take our intake. We're going to pull those bolts out now because we're ready for it. Okay, same thing. We're going to look for the alignment dot on the cam. We're just going to pull that gear off. Give it a quick wipe. Okay, we're going to put the cam in there the same way. Now right here on the back, we're just going to make sure that this chain, all the slack's taken out. We're just going to slide that in there. We'll put the gear at the same time. Okay. Okay, now there's a bolt hole right here. We got our alignment mark. Oop. Okay, we dropped it in. Get it on that spindle. It is kind of hard. You're going to have to work at it. Kind of lift it up. Just get it in that spindle there. Okay, it slid on. And we're just going to spin it a little, set it down, and you'll see the bolt hole. We're going to take our little bolt, drop it in the slot. Now same thing here, we just want to finger tight, just where it's snug. Okay. So we make sure our alignments are good. We got our bolt in, we got our alignments good. Now we're ready to put our caps on. Okay, now for our caps, we're going to put on cap number intake 1, 2, and 4. Leave number 3 off because we're going to need it. We have another bolt to put down there at the bottom. We got to have this cap space. So go ahead and put on cap number intake 1 and 2, and number 4. So let's get this one on. I've already put 1 on 2 on to save time. Okay, just snug. Like I say, once we get the caps on, I'll torque everything down here in a minute. I want to make sure I get that bolt put in, but I won't torque it down, but I'll just make it snug in there so it doesn't come off that spindle. And we have to have cap number 3 off to get to it. If you put that cap on, then you can't get to your bolt. So we just put the 1 on to get the chain over it. Okay. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is grab my flashlight. And my 22mm wrench. And all I'm looking for again is just that hash mark on the dot right there on the cam. My wire's out of the way. Okay, so I'm just going to eyeball it for now. Looks like it needs to go to the right a little. Sorry, to the left. Just a little. Okay, that's tight. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the other side for the timing plate and make sure it's in line. Okay. Okay, it is good. Alright, now that we're on the left side, I'm going to make sure it's still in timing. So, we're going to check my alignment. Alignment's still good. Now, we're going to take our chain tool here, or I mean our chain tensioner. We're going to take everything out of it. So we've got the dowel, the 2 springs, the big and the small, and our bolt. Okay. Now right here on the end of this chain tensioner, we have a little place here where I can depress with my fingernail, my little thumbnail. We're going to pull that down. So you just reach this little ledge and drops it down. We're going to go down as far as it'll go. Okay. Now if you can see, you have the little mechanical part on the bottom, and it'll be nothing on the top. That's exactly how we're going to put it in the motor. Okay, so I'm going to pull my bolts out. So just remember that little piece right here, where we lift up, we're going to push this down, a little plunger, let it go. And that's exactly how we're going to put it in the engine with this little check mark right here. Okay? It only goes in one way. So if your bolt holes don't match up, that's the reason why. Okay. Okay, we're just going to do a hand tight for now. Okay. Okay, we're going to take our Allen wrench here, tighten this up. Tight as you can, just by hand. Make it real snug. Okay. Now we're going to put our bolt springs in here in this spot, all at the same time. Like I say, that is under tension. So if you can't get it by hand, that's okay. We're going to use our wrench. Pull this out a minute. See if I can get it by hand. That is a lot of pressure. You have to hold it with your thumb and turn it at the same time. If you can't, we'll use the wrench. It is tight. Okay, that's tight. Alright, we'll put on pause a minute. We're going to switch back to the right side. So now what we're going to do is we have to snug this bolt down. Now we won't torque it just yet. We'll just make sure it's tight. Because we don't want to get the engine out of time, right? We don't want to back it up. So we're just going to make it snug. So now I'm going to turn the engine backwards, and we're going to get that bolt in. But I just want to make sure everything's in time first before we do that, so that's good. Okay, it's lined up over here. Our timing mark is online, so we're just going to back this up for now until that bolt becomes visible. Okay. Alrighty. You see it? It'll be right there where we marked it. We'll put it in by hand. You can put a rag down there if you want to, but I'm pretty confident I won't drop it. But you never know. It's been one of those days. Okay, we're just going to tighten it snug. Okay, it's snug. Alrighty, now we got the bolt in. And now at this point, while I have my cap off, we're going to torque it. And this will be to 14 foot-pounds. Now if it turns like that, you can use your box wrench on the other side, and you're going to hold it. Bring it back up. You can do it two-handed. Okay. So you're going to hold the timing over here and torque it with this one. Okay. Because we're going to have to turn it anyway. Okay. Now we're going to put it back in time on the left here with the timing plate. Right there. Okay. Like I say, you can do this two-handed. It's not a problem. You just use your 19 millimeter to hold this side as you torque this side. Okay, ready? Let's do it. Okay. Those are torqued in. Now on the exhaust, I pre-torqued those before I put that on, so I know it's correct. Because we never took those bolts out. It's just the intakes we take out, and then we torque them down. It's at this point you can put your number 3 cover on. Okay. And it'll have my alignment mark when I get it tightened up, and I can double check my timing with my. I'll stick my flashlight and down there, and I can check that timing mark. And you just use your wrench to turn it whichever way. Now, if you're going to turn it this way, use this cam. If you're going to turn it to the left, use this cam. Because if not, that's going to get slack in the middle of it. Okay. At this point, we just want snug, and I'll torque it here in a minute. Just snug. Okay. So I'm going to grab my flashlight and look down in there. Make sure that it's lined up on that mark. It's lined up good. That one's off just a little, so I'm going to turn. I need to turn counterclockwise here. So I'm going to turn it just a little bit as I'm watching it. Right there. Okay. I'm lined up good here. I'm lined up good there. Now I'm going to check my timing plate again. That is good. Okay, now we're ready for torque. We can torque our caps down. We'll put our chain tensioner on. Our chain guide on. There, we're just going to snug them down. Alright, that's it. All we have to do now is torque our caps down, and then we're going to measure each and every one again and make sure that they're aligned good. And hopefully them clearances will be on spec. You never know. It's kind of a gamble. You can be about 99% sure they'll be correct, but there's always going to be one goofy one in there that's going to be out. That's just the way it is. So I'm going to shut down for the night, and we'll get this started tomorrow. Alrighty.